Hi everyone, I'm Julia Fedorova. Welcome to this Sweet Art Master Kitchen Talk. As always, I'm very happy to see you. And as you saw my interviews and I spoke with my friends, all of them told me that being business owner is a tough one. So today I have a business guru as my guest. Please welcome Sid Mitchell and use this amazing opportunity to get free business consultation from Sid Mitchell. Before we start, I would like to add that Sid had birthday few days ago. Happy birthday.
Thank
Best wish
you.
from me and our viewers. And as always, I ask about your likes, comments, and of course about your questions. So let's start from beginning. Tell us about your first steps in this industry.
Oh my gosh, that's such a loaded question. And thank you for the birthday well wishes. It was fun. But man, my beginning days in the cake world, being like a business coach in the cake world, really started from just going to a couple of bakeries and I started going frequently enough to where I built rapport with the owners. And then they started asking me questions, kind of like, what do you do? And, all that kind of stuff. And so then I would just start, helping them with figuring out how to price and how to market. And then I realized that there was a whole community of bakers that were out there that needed those same type of help. So I actually started an Instagram page. And at first I didn't want to call it a business. I just wanted to say it was a project. So I called my project Sweet Fest that was on Instagram and, started doing, just trainings and I had in-person, conference and eventually there was Periscope, which was where I would, kind of like the first live stream place and just continue to try to build community and educate people on how to get their bookkeeping organized, how to, figure out how to start pricing correctly and to turn a profit and how to reach new customers. So it really just kind of happened by accident, really. I wasn't really expecting to end up being, 11 years later, still talking to people in the food world about business, but I really enjoy it. Mainly because I enjoy food and I enjoy helping people. So it feels like
It's
the
very nice
perfect fit.
combination.
Yes, exactly. It feels like the perfect fit for me.
So, what is your advice for beginners, for people who just wanna start this business?
Yeah. So I would base my first tip for anyone starting a business is to look at your network. And when I say look at your network, like think about the people, if you already have a 9 to 5, like look at those people, see if they have a need, see if they have birthdays or holidays or obviously all those things in each of those individual people's lives, people who are already on your Facebook page or on your social media. These are people who are already friends of yours and interested or could potentially be interested in what you have to offer, especially if you have a skill set and delicious treats and delicious cakes. You can always kind of look inward first for your inner circle. Maybe that's a baby shower because your nephew just, like for me, I just had like 2 nephews last year. So like, that type of stuff of thinking of what are the things that are kind of locally that already have going on, people I'm already connected with, and see if you can offer those things out to them.
So, what about the people who already have businesses and all of us struggle a lot after COVID? What they should do with everything around?
Yeah, I'm really big on collaboration, right? So I think, figuring out what other businesses may have complementary services or products that can go along with what you also offer. So, a bridal shop that is selling, bridal dresses or something like that, they are probably looking for, those brides are looking for cakes as well. So maybe there's some type of collaboration you can do there. Or like during the holidays, gift shops, if there's like a local gift shop that does, things that are specific to your local community, see if you can have your cookies or treats also stocked on those shelves as well. So it really still kind of comes back to your network in your community. right? But now it's a little bit more expanded. So maybe these are people who you don't exactly know, but maybe are still kind of connected to, just because the industry is still relatively connected.
So, what about social media? They they help or not? What the lots of people right now struggling, like making lots of reels, etc. It doesn't work at all.
Yes.
So what's going on in this field?
Yeah, so social media, man, it's a love-hate relationship, I think, with social media, right? Because as soon as we feel like we figured out one thing, then the algorithm changes, and then next thing you know, that thing doesn't work anymore. And as someone who is recovering from social media burnout, I would like to say that I feel like we need to start going on at our own pace and not really considering, well, did this reel reach, 10,000 people, or did it only reach the same 200 people? I think if we more so focus on community building and also what we are already doing, right? So I'm not going to go out of my way to do something extra special on social media because it may not pay off in the end, right? So I only have 24 hours in the day. And if I'm already going to be in the kitchen working on, XYZ things, then it's cool to just set up my camera to record what I have going on at that time. But I'm not going to make a special dance video or try to, over edit this video in order to see, how, in order to see like how much more reach I can get. I'm literally just going to focus on what I'm already doing and trying to be efficient at what I'm doing to capture that content and share that out with the people. And the right people will find those things. I recently just got some Meta glasses too, like literally yesterday they got in. And so I'm really excited about testing that out too, because I know at times people have complained about, well, I don't have the right setup and I can't figure out what position to put my phone in, or I don't have the space to do that in my kitchen. And so I'm really excited to test out my Meta glasses, because from what I've seen and from what I've tested with other friends' glasses, is that it's just as easy as like click, you just, and then you continue to do what you're doing. So at that point, you don't even really have to remember to set anything up. You just have to remember to push the button in order to record. But again, if you're using the strategy of, this is what I'm already doing, I'm not going to do anything extra special, I'm just going to capture my content, I'm going to share, and I'm going to be authentically me, then I think that will end up paying off in the long run, as opposed, and also emotionally, I feel like it'll pay off a lot better than trying to chase after these things that we don't know if they're going to work or not.
So anyway, the social media, I think, is the small part of our creation.
Absolutely.
Just for beginners, it is not solution.
Correct.
It is some tool you can improve and use. So it is not solution to be 24/7 and on
Right.
social media, because if you're in, you cannot be baker or cake decorator. So
exactly.
just decide what you want to be, influencer or professional cake decorator and business owner.
Yes. And then, they're, especially with, trying to focus on building like an influencer status, that's a whole job in itself. Like that's something like I really do admire the people who can do both at the same time, of like building the business and also becoming an influencer, and also doing it by themselves, because those are really two different skill sets and multiple jobs for one person to try to do. But I think if you, figure out where your community is and how they like to receive information, then you're right. It's like one tool kind of like in the whole toolbox of things. I like to say that there's like an ecosystem of, ways that you can reach out to your audience, that being social media as one of those tools. And even social media branches out into TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Pinterest, Facebook, these are all different avenues and different ways that you can reach people. But even outside of that, those are very algorithm driven things. You can still reach your audience through your email newsletter or through text message marketing or just by being outside in events in your local space. So, I think it's just about finding that balance and figuring out where your audience is so that you can reach them in the way that where they can receive you.
Yeah, especially with the absolutely different formats, like for Instagram, for TikTok, for YouTube. You cannot make one and share on three of them. So
Right.
you spend 3 times more your power and just who knows?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I personally like to lean more into email marketing. And I really have removed my, I mean, like, I feel like I haven't posted on social media in like 2 years. I'm starting to come back out. But I mean, I was really, really burnt out, Julia. Like, I really didn't feel like I could do any more. Like, I feel like I laid it all out there. And then this was, we're trying to come up with new ideas and you're trying to come up with new spins. And then you beat yourself up over, it didn't reach however many people you expected it to reach. And so I feel like for me, it's been more of a mindset shift into how do I want to show up to my community. And I also feel like with email, you can get into somebody's inbox and they can decide whether to open, whether to interact with you or your messaging or not, as opposed to being completely beholden to an algorithm that may or may not show your stuff to the people.
Yeah. So we have this topic about social media because it's lots of conversation about. So what is the simple stuff to start the business, like business account, like bookkeeping? What they should know? What they step from being just baker and cake decorator to step up to be the owner? What they should expect? What the problems of this industry?
Yeah. So I would definitely say first you want to set a solid foundation for your business and your brand, right? Because if you are not specific in, what niche you're trying to fall into, and when I say niche, it's like, am I doing wedding cakes or am I trying to reach, birthday parties, or am I because you can do all the things, right?
Yes.
Like, especially as a cake decorator or a treat maker or cookier, you can do weddings and birthdays and baby shower. You can do all those things. But the issue is when you don't figure out your niche, then it's going to be very hard to reach the audience that is looking for what you provide, right? So I'm a really big advocate of figuring out your niche. So then you can say, all right, yes, I can take cookie orders for baby showers, but I really focus on weddings, right? Like, if somebody asks me for cookies for a baby shower or for a birthday party, I can say yes. But no, for real, I double down on weddings. So like everything on my Instagram is like wedding themed. I have a page on Wedding Wire, and The Knot. If you go to my Pinterest page, is all wedding cakes. Like, this is my lane, is weddings, right? Or if you say, well, no, I really enjoy birthdays and celebrations, then yes, you could still do weddings every now and then if somebody comes to you, but it'll be easier for you to lock into mommy blogs so that you can, have the right, be there for birthday parties, or, connecting with like local schools in order to, so there's ways that you can find your niche. And I think a lot of people miss that in the very beginning because they're trying to do all the things because they want money from anywhere, right? It's just like, I just want to get this money. I need this money. I need it now, right?
Yeah.
And so it's kind of hard for newbies to be able to find the right audience if they're not kind of narrowed down. And then you know where to go once you narrow down into those things. And then your branding needs to be on point with that, right? So if you decide that you are going to focus on weddings, but when I come to your website, it looks very fun and bright and whimsical and it feels very colorful, that doesn't really lend itself to weddings, right? Like that seems more like something you would see for birthdays or for kids parties or something like that, right? And so, figuring out your niche so that you can figure out what your branding is, so that you can also figure out where to find the clients. Those are things that I really think that newbies need to focus on, right? And that could be just as easy as, writing these things, like doing a brain dump. I'm like really big on brain dumps these days, where I have my journal, my notebook, and I'm just writing out all of my ideas of what I would like to see for my business, right? And then you just check for a theme, like, what is it? What are my goals? What are the things that I'm expecting to see for my business, or hope to see for my business? And how do I get there, right? And so, not to say that you can't have, a multi-million-dollar birthday cake, company, but also we need to recognize that, some, like most parents are not going to pay $500 for a kid's birthday cake, but you might pay $500 to $5,000 for a wedding cake, right? So depending upon what your goals are, then you also need to figure out like kind of what audience you really want to kind of go after.
Yeah. Thank you so much. It's absolutely amazing advice. It's absolutely true, because you cannot do everything perfectly. If you do something, again, your niche, people will appreciate your precise touch.
Mm-hmm.
If you do everything will be mediocre, like everyone else already did. So be unique. I think it's one of my advice to people who wanna enter to the industry. Be unique. Show you are special.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's an excellent point. Like, I feel like, people. Well, let me back up. There's definitely different tools now that we did not have before, right? Like when I started in 2014, I couldn't go to chat anything or AI anything in order to kind of brainstorm and figure out, what direction I need to go, right? But now literally there's, so many apps. You go on any social media now, you're going to see an ad for any type of AI app that's going to be able to help you narrow down, and kind of like brainstorm your ideas. So even though I'm, just talked about being old school and chat, writing it down on a notebook, eventually you can put that into like an AI chat and then, say, this is what I'm interested in. This is my market. Help me figure out the direction that I should take this business. Give me
Help
a
me
path.
bake cake.
Exactly. So I think that I think that there's all these tools at our disposal that people really need to start looking into and helping, especially newbies, like take advantage of this. This stuff wasn't around before.
Yeah, absolutely. But lots of tools you can use, but remember, you decide. It's
Yes.
your decision. You decide to be in this industry. It's absolutely tough, no doubts. But I think like seeing your satisfied customers, it's worth it.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And I think just leaning into what do I want to do, right? And what feels good for me. Like what type of orders do I enjoy doing? And the ones that I don't enjoy doing, I need to find a way to not have to do them anymore, right? Like and I think too that's the hard part for people who are new in the business, is because again, you're thirsty for money. You're like, the reason why I started this thing as a business was to make money. So I feel kind of nervous about turning down business. Even like, and I feel like that's kind of a common thread of like, I don't want to say no because I need this money, but you have to find a way to set your own boundary so that you're not, at 3 o'clock in the morning hating life because you agreed to do this order that doesn't feel good to you.
Yeah, so the nowadays with shortage of orders and pricing go of everything going up, up, up,
Yes.
rent and the supply and sugar and butter and everything. So
Mhm.
we must figure out how to survive. And
Yes.
my tough question: how people should understand it is enough? We should close for good.
Yes.
Sorry for this, but lots of nice places closed for good
Yes.
almost last year, right?
Yes,
So
a lot.
what is the point? No
Yeah.
return. Like,
Yes.
what is the point? What they
Yeah.
should to do? How they understand it?
No, that's a really good question because you're right. I've seen so many announcements come through social media. We're closing. I'm selling all my baking tools and all that kind of stuff. And I think, it really depends on you personally. Like how much more pressure do you feel like you can take, right? I also feel like you shouldn't do it just off of your gut feeling either. Like I do feel like there should be numbers to back up a decision to stay open or to close, right? So, this industry is very cyclical. Like you already know that there is a slower season and that there is a busier season. And, you kind of already have a feel for the traffic. You are, especially if you have a physical location versus if you are out of your home, you kind of already know what these things look like. But if you don't actually know what the numbers are, then it's very dangerous to be like, oh, well, we can keep doing it. We can keep pushing forward. And if we just make it 3 more months, I think we can get past this point. But if you don't actually have the numbers that show that every December is like the biggest time of year for you, and you make so much money, then, or every, whatever time of year it is, then it's very dangerous to say, well, let's just keep going, but you don't exactly know what those numbers look like, right? And I also feel like, again, it boils down to your own kind of tolerance for the risk, right? Are you willing to risk your retirement fund? Are you willing to risk your own personal finances, or to have to go back to get another job in order to fund your dream, which is still, I mean, nobody can answer that but you, but you, the listener. However, I think those are the key points that people need to think about, right? Like, at a certain point, you will know this is just too much. Like, I can't keep asking my family for money, or I can't keep going to get additional loans. I can't keep doing whatever that thing is. And if you find yourself saying that, then it may really be time to be like, let's take a step back, or let's pivot. Because also, that doesn't mean that you need to close for good. It may just mean that you need to change your strategy. Maybe you need to figure out how to get larger orders. So maybe you get onto a catering app as opposed to just being, through word of mouth. Maybe it is that you start placing ads. It's really kind of looking at the data and then making the adjustment that way. But again, the decision is going to boil down to your own tolerance for, can I keep doing this? Can I keep only working off of 3 hours of sleep because I can't afford to pay a staff? Those things.
Anyway, everything ended up with numbers. It's not
Mm.
about creation. It's not about your guts unwilling. Numbers cannot lie.
Yes.
So unfortunately, if we are talking about business, not hobbies,
Yes.
so it's everything about numbers.
Yes, absolutely. And of course, the accountant here is going to talk about, numbers. You need the numbers tell the whole story, right? If you, and not even just looking at your Square, right? Because Square only tells half the story. PayPal typically, PayPal can still tell a little bit bigger story because you can have a PayPal debit card, so you can like spend it and also bring it in. But if you have multiple different channels where you're bringing in money, then you can't just look at this is how much money is coming in, because the other side of it is how much money are you spending, right? And so the profit is, or the loss is basically the amount of money that is left over after you've made money and you spent money. Then there's this bottom line number. And if that bottom line number consistently is going down, 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 it's really, we're in a bad
It's not a good
situation.
sign at all.
It's not a good sign, right? You want that number to go up, up, up. And even if it's like up, down, then that's okay. But if it's like down, 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 then you really have to think, because that money has to come from somewhere, right? Like when there is a loss in a business, that money has to come from somewhere. It may be your personal bank account. It may be that you have to take out a loan. It may be that you have to use credit cards, but that money is coming from somewhere. And I think that's what a lot of people, new and seasoned, miss out on, is that they don't know where their money is going at all. Like they know that a lot of people are very knowledgeable in how much money is coming in. Like everybody knows that number, right? But nobody, like people seem, I won't say nobody, but a lot of people seem to not know where is the money going. I know it's coming in, but by the end of the month, it's gone. And I don't know where it went because it doesn't feel like it went anywhere, but it's not in my bank account. So where is it? Right. And I think if we get into this practice of monitoring our numbers on both the income and the expense side, then we as business owners will be able to sleep better at night, be able to make better informed decisions. Then you can know if you can afford to hire somebody, or if you really do need to be in your bakery 24/7 because you have all these orders.
Yeah, it's a very good question about hiring someone. It's tricky part is one of them. So
Yeah.
you should decide, do you need additional person to
Mhm.
pay,
Yeah.
or you just don't bring more orders? It's
Mhm.
the balance. Do
Yep.
you need additional person and get more money and
Right.
spend more money, or
Right.
balance your time by yourself? So
Mhm.
again, it's up to you, but you should think ahead and understand, if you got some huge order, it's not forever.
Yes. Right. Exactly. And I think too, people need to think about, like, because there's especially in the US, there is actually like, IRS guidance on what a staff person is. Okay. So just kind of going into like, do we hire somebody? Do we, hire some help? You can hire a contractor, and a contractor, somebody who maybe comes in, once or twice a week or whatever, but and contractors typically like a person who receives a 1099 from that business at the tax year, right? And the thing I want people to understand, that a contractor literally gets to set their own schedule. It's a part of like the whole IRS requirement for a contractor. As soon as you start saying, I need you to be in my studio or bakery or whatever from 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, or from 8 to, whatever, however many days a week, these specific days, and that person is no longer a contractor. They're actually an employee. And there's different IRS requirements for an employee. That is somebody you're going to have to actually pay taxes on, and payroll taxes that you submit to your state, if your state has income tax and all that kind of stuff. So and I really want people to keep these things in mind when they start bringing in outside help, because, there is this, I would say common. There it is. It's a common practice to bring in someone and to be like, oh yeah, well, they're just a contractor for me. But you tell them specifically, I need you here from this time to this time, this day to this day. When you start doing that, that's not a contractor. A contractor can work at their own schedule. They let you know when they're doing the thing. Sometimes they bring their own equipment. So even still, I need for us to focus on that too, as far as like logistically and legally, that there are two different things. But I also think, when you are starting out, especially if you have an aspiration to grow your business, then factor in paying somebody. Okay. Like build that into the price of your products. And in the beginning, that money should come to you. because you wouldn't work for free in anybody else's business. But somehow as a business owner, we end up working for free, right? And so if we can find a way to build in a labor cost into our pricing, then it's already there so that we're paying ourselves. Or when it is time for us to move on to something else, to move on to being more of the marketer and less of the worker bee in the kitchen, then we already have it built in and we know that we can afford to pay somebody else to do the thing for us.
It's absolutely amazing advice because we, as business owners, we don't count ourselves. So if we have a help, we must care about them, about taxes, insurance, rent, and
Yes.
everything. But people remember we should earn something.
Yes. Yes. And I had this conversation a couple of weeks ago with this young lady who, we were talking about the difference between your profit and as a business owner, what the profit is for the business versus you paying yourself. So the profit that you make in your business is for the business, right? That profit you get to choose, but typically it is hopefully to be reinvested back into the business in order to help the business grow. So you use the profit to buy new equipment or to, hire a new person or whatever. That's what profit is for. But we have this tendency as business owners to think that the profit is our paycheck. Our paycheck should actually be something else completely, right? Like it should be beyond what the profit is. Like you have to build that into the cost of running your business. If you build that in the beginning, then you don't have to worry about whether it's there later, right? So again, this is why it's important to kind of narrow down like what your product offerings are, to figure out how much they cost you. And when you start figuring out how much they cost you, it's not just in material, but it's also in labor. And then the amount of money that is kind of calculated and built into the labor cost of producing that thing, that is what's supposed to come to you, right? That is your fee. Anything beyond that is in the business.
Yeah, they're about cost. So they're, again, nowadays, about prices and everything. So keeping the price in the same like we had a few years ago, it's impossible.
Yes.
And I think if we keep the price, the quality will be lower and lower and lower.
Yes.
So I think we should explain to our customers and ourselves that it's no way to keep the price, just increase it and provide the same service. Because if you provide the same service and you cannot afford provide the same service for the same price.
No, absolutely right. Gas is higher. The ingredients cost is higher. Packaging is higher. Everything is higher. And that is the other thing too. That's kind of like the danger of using other people's pricing is that you don't know, how much they actually built in for the cost of eggs, flour, sugar, labor, so you have to really take the time to do that stuff for yourself. So then you can know that like when the price of eggs goes up, then that's either going to eat into your profit or you need to increase your price in order to compensate for that.
So about the increasing price, so what is your advice? For example, the contract was signed like few months ago for example, for wedding cake for next year, right? And eggs were like, for example, $3, and now they $5, and everything up. What is your advice? Should the business owner keep the word and be honest and keep the price, or just inform the client it's impossible? What is your advice?
Yeah, I think that, once you establish a contract and a price, then you have to honor that because your word is your word, especially in business. It's nothing worse than, especially like imagine yourself as a customer and I've established that I'm going to pay $1,000 for my wedding cake, and then 2 months before my wedding, the someone's coming back and is like, oh, actually we need to increase it because XYZ, blah blah blah. No, as a business owner, sucks, but you have to eat that cost for that. But there are things that you can do to kind of mitigate for that, right? So you can even build in you can kind of limit yourself to be like, you know what, I'm only going to take, orders this amount of time out, right? So I'm not going to commit to a wedding that's 5 years from now. Like, there's no possible way. Like, nobody knows what this place is going to be like in 5 years, right? But I can say, you know what, in a year, the likelihood that the price is going to increase, we already know it is. So we can even do the math on it a little bit more, right? So like, maybe you build in like an inflation cushion. You don't have to tell them that, but you build that into your price, that you build in like an extra 10% or an extra 5% on top of your price the farther out it gets from where you are now, so that it kind of can compensate for those additional prices inflating in the future. So let's say you have a cake, that is like 3 months from now. Maybe that cake you quote as $1,000, but that same cake, in a full year from now, so instead of 3 months, it's a full year from now, then maybe it's not $1,000, maybe it's $1,100, or maybe it's like 1050, just to kind of make sure that we cover our bases when it comes to any other type of cost. Because again, who knows what any of us are going to be doing at that point. Your life circumstances may have changed, and at that point you may need to hire this out to somebody, and also thinking through, like, now that we're talking about future sales and future projects, I think it's very important for people to also realize that when you take in money for something that you're not going to deliver until way in the future, please keep in mind that you are still liable, you're still responsible for providing that product at that time. And if you can't, you need to be able to provide that money back, right? Like, you need to be able to cover that. So, if you've taken a full $1,000, or let's just say 1050 for a cake that's a year from now, okay? Put that in a savings account. Put that somewhere, like at least put half of it somewhere else that you can't touch it, so that that, like, push come to shove, like if you needed to cancel, or if they had to cancel, or whatever your policy is, that you would be able to provide that money back. Like, and I think that a lot of people, especially newbies, don't think about those things, right? Because then they're like, oh, that's a year from now, and that money is gone, and that, and a lot of people were caught with their pants down, really, during COVID, even because they didn't have a force majeure in their contract, or any type of act of God or whatever in their contract. And so a lot of people were either kind of trying to scramble and figure how could they get these people their money back, or figuring out if there's policies where you could just move the date or something like that. So you just really want to think about what could potentially happen, and like protect yourself as best you can. And I know, again, we're in business to make money, but also you want to protect yourself, and not put yourself in a bad situation to where now, especially like, and I mean, $1,000 is kind of, we could try to find a way to get $1,000, but really specifically like $5, $10, $20,000, you don't want to get to a point where you're like, something happened with that cake and now they really need their money back, and legitimately they should get their money back, but I don't have that $20,000 to give them back, So these are just things to think about.
So as business owners, our word is cost more than money. So for us, reputation is the first, and the profit is second. It's again, for people who start the in this industry, they should understand you build your reputation. If you just skip one wedding, second, third wedding, maybe it will not come, because it's people will know and people will talk.
Yeah.
So they will not talk about your achievements, but
Yes.
they will talk about your faults.
Yes.
And absolutely nice thing to have, it's good contract. Good
Mm-hmm.
contract, it is a key to your success
Yes.
as business owner, and it is for you and for your clients. If you have good contract, the contract works for both of you.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Putting policies in there as to when people can cancel and how much of that retainer they can get back. Having all of that locked up is like and locked into a contract is going to save you so much more headache in the future. And we like to say that a contract is a living, breathing document. The contract that you send to people today is probably not going to look the same as the contract you send to people 10 years from now, because so many things happen, over 10 years of, well, that was a horrible experience. I need to add a clause in my contract to make sure that doesn't happen to me again. And like I even mentioned, like a force majeure, which a lot of people didn't have that type of clause in their contract during COVID. And the force majeure is basically like an act of God. So, to basically say, I'm not responsible for giving you your money back or even helping you with your event, because of an act of God, like we are no longer liable. But I guarantee you so many people have that in their contracts now, and they didn't prior to 2020.
So it's our advice for beginners: invest in good contract, and it's very, very good investment.
Yes, absolutely. A contract is better than no contract. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So speaking about profits, sales, advertising, and marketing, because the holidays just around the corner,
Yes.
and we need to know everything to
Yes.
provide discount to loyal customers
Mm-hmm.
and got some profit on the way.
Yes, yes. I think, again, like we really started off this conversation of leaning on your network, right? And so as you have grown in your business, as you continue to have sales, there are people who, if they bought from you and they enjoyed their experience or the product from you, they likely will buy from you again. It's just better to remind them, like, hey, I'm here, I'm taking holiday orders. If you need a pie, if you need a cake, and use that to your advantage. Make sure you continue to reach out to them via email. Social media is a thing as well, but of course, the algorithm may or may not be helpful to you. And so that's why, getting out in front of people either through holiday markets or through, actually ads that like retarget people on social media, because then you don't have to worry about the algorithm. I think that's really like the best route to go, is to try to re-engage people who already, purchased from you throughout the year or over the years. Right. And also, I mean, yes, it's nice to give, people enjoy looking for deals during this time of year, but also keep in mind that like a promotion doesn't also have to be a discount. Like it could be that like if you get, 2 pies from me, then, you get, I don't know, some cookies for Santa or whatever, right? Like it could be, and that may not cost me as much as like saying I'm going to give you 5 or 10 or 20% off of this order, but it also just adds additional value. Like if you spend a certain amount of money with me, then there's this gift that I'm going to give you. And this gift may not cost me that much money, right? But it's also adding value to the customer, right? And I think that the cookies for Santa is like the perfect example, right? Like if you sold like holiday pies, and if somebody bought like $300 worth of holiday pies from you, surely you can get them six, a half a dozen or a dozen cookies for Santa for the holidays, and that's not going to cost you nearly as much, right? So just kind of get creative and think about what are the needs of your community. Like if you are a cookier, this is your time to lean into the cookie, like gingerbread houses, gingerbread kits, decorating kits, or again, cookies for Santa. And if you are not a cookie person, Also think about drop cookies. I think a lot of times people forget about just regular schmegular, not decorated cookies, right? Like if you are a baker, let's say you do focus on weddings or birthdays or whatever, you can still also lean into you can make a chocolate chip cookie, you can make a sugar cookie, and that is something that's going to be an easy sell for you.
So, for example, bakery has promotion on the gingerbread cookies and the carrot cakes for upcoming holidays,
Yes.
and they add discount to these products already. So, and people saw the discount like 15%, 25%, and they ask, okay, just provide the same discount to other products as well. So what is your advice? Should the owner provide the discount to not provide the discount to this product?
Yeah, that's a great question. To me, it really all boils down to you have to know how much it costs you to make that product, right? Before you start discounting anything in your business, you need to know how much it costs you to make it, right? Because the danger that you find yourself in is that you might undercut yourself, right? So perfect example is, let's say, oh, you know what? I have my little, all right, let's just act like these are, real cupcakes or whatever, right? So I got my cupcake here and I sell, a dozen cupcakes, and I know that it costs me, $20 a dozen. It costs me $10 to make a dozen cupcakes, right? So if I know that it's cost me $10 to make these, then I know that I can't put a discount to where they're lower than $10, right? So I know that, like, if I make it to where I'm, they're $6, nobody's doing this, but if they're $6 for a dozen cupcakes, then I'm basically paying people $4 in value to take my cupcakes, right? But if I know it's $10 and I'm like I can charge, I'm gonna charge $36 for my dozen cupcakes, I can afford to make it where it's $25, or I can afford to make it where it's $30, because as long as it's above $10, I know that I'm making money, right? And so I can't really answer the question as to whether you should or shouldn't offer a discount on other things that you weren't planning to do. But as long as you know that you can still make money on it and you're okay with the amount of money that you're going to make on it, then sure, do it. But don't just discount for the sake of saying we had a discount or we had a sale on something. Make sure you know your numbers first, and then figure out whether you can afford or want to offer a discount.
So from your experience, the same situation, what is the better for business owner, for bakery, to have a promotion on few products and concentrate on just on production on them and
Yes.
promote it, or
Yes.
provide discount for whole line of products?
Yeah. In general, I am a fan of limiting people's selection, right? Multiple reasons. People get decision fatigue, right? Like, you got 15 offerings at a certain point, I may even just walk away because I can't even figure out what I want, right? Or it also boils down to the availability of ingredients, right? So if you have 15 different products that have, each of them have, 10 different unique ingredients, that'll never happen, but let's just say they do. Then you find yourself in a situation where you need 150 different types of ingredients and supplies in order to make these 15 things, right? But if you narrow down to 5 products that maybe come from the same typical base of ingredients, and maybe only 1 or 2 elements are different, then just from a cost perspective, it's easier for you to manage how much it, and also kind of plan out what type of ingredients and supplies you need, because it's very limited. You don't have to worry about, well, like, we've offered 15 things and we've got all the ingredients and supplies for all the 15 things. But people only, most of our, like 90% of people wanted these 3 products. So now I've wasted my money on these, getting the ingredients and supplies for these other 12 products. Or maybe 90% people wanted here. The other 10% of people, one wanted this flavor, another wanted a completely different flavor. So now you're not efficient. So it's a cost issue from supplies and ingredients. Then it's an efficiency problem because you find yourself having to, not focus on the one thing. Now you're having to do all these other things in order to, meet the demands of your customer. So if you can just narrow down, like I'm in general a product narrow down person. Like I am a fan of having your core base of products and maybe your seasonal rotation things.
Yeah, my point was about season. If you like to promote your, for example, 12 products, just divide by season and provide for 3 products for winter, 3 products for, and everyone will know about your products finally.
Yes.
But you will concentrate yourself in this selling and this promotion, and you will see how people answer on your promotion, because when you promote just 3 items, it is easier to see the results.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And if people really want to support your business, they will find, especially if you offer 3 to 5. I feel like those are, really, that's kind of a sweet spot. 5, I feel like is really pushing it, right? But if you already have figured out your audience, you already know, kind of what their flavor profile is that they like from you, then they will find something within those 3 to support you. And especially there's a big movement of supporting local businesses, and if they really truly want to support you, they will find a way. I've definitely done where, I may not have found something that I wanted, but I got a gift card for a friend or family or something like that so that they can come back and get something at another time,
So, about speaking about accounting spreadsheets and everything in between,
Yes.
tell us about more, because it's a little bit for bakers and cake decorers, it's a little bit boring, but it's absolutely necessary.
Absolutely. Yes. So I actually created a spreadsheet template that is on my website, and I'll give you the link so you can put it, in comments and everything. But I say that for people who are new, do it yourself. You may not want to, but especially if you don't have the budget to start paying for a software such as like a QuickBooks, or you don't have you don't have it in the budget to hire somebody to do this stuff for you, and also not to mention, it's better for you to do it yourself because now you are closer to it and you're not as removed, right? Like when you're removed from it, it's easy to be like, well, you know what, I don't know, and I'm not sure where my money is going. But like if you are the person who's doing it, then you can actually see where your money is going, right? And so I would say that, try to use the spreadsheet. There's actually instruction that goes along with it. So it's actually a course that goes with it. It's only an hour. I want to say it's like an hour and 20 minutes. But basically I break down the different terms that you're going to need to understand as to what is an income statement versus what is a balance sheet versus what is a statement of cash flows. And these are the 3 like main financial statements that you as a business owner really need to know about your business, because that will help you with making decisions in your business. Then you could know whether you can afford to buy, an edible printer, or whether you can afford to go to a conference, or, all that kind of stuff. So I say definitely start with the spreadsheet. And the spreadsheet I have is like basically different tabs. You just put in your transactions that come in directly from your bank. So you just kind of go to your bank, download a CSV file, copy that into the spreadsheet, and then start categorizing the things as, continuing education, or these are supplies, or this is for advertisements for software, that type of stuff. And then it filters into another tab that actually shows like an income statement for you. And also keep in mind that these are things you're going to need if you ever want to get funding, right? So if you've ever looking for a lender, or if somebody is looking to invest in your business, or anything related, like if you want to get a grant or if you want to apply for things, they will ask for these documents from you. And it's better to be prepared and to, be in that kind of steady state of, I'm updating this every month or at least every other month, then that is helpful, and you'll already have them available whenever they're required of you. And then also you don't have to freak out come, April or January even, because you would have already been working on it throughout the year. And I think that a lot of people do get in this habit. We don't look at it until January, February, and then we're scrambling, trying to remember. Even that's one of my main things too, is who remembers what they were doing on February 3rd of 2025. I couldn't tell you what I was doing, right? And so that's going to happen too. If you wait too long to review your transactions from your business, you're going to be like, what was that random charge for this name, this company that I don't even know the name? It doesn't even look familiar, right? It's some obscure thing. Next thing you know, you're looking through your calendar, you're trying to figure it out, and it turns out it's parking, or it turns out to be a fraudulent charge. Like, if you don't look at these things regularly, then you can really find yourself in a sticky situation, and having to scramble to figure out what it is.
Yeah, it's the whole system. If you don't build the system from step one, it would be more difficult on the way.
Yes.
It's first, and second, you should learn these words, like we learn, like buttercream and
Yes.
other names of sweet buttercream and other buttercreams as well. So
Yes.
just learn these words, and they will help you understand the business, the structure, and you will build the structure, and you will build the system. And the system will help. When you build it right, the system will work for you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I used to use this example of, we want to put ourselves in these rooms where we're networking with the right people who can hopefully invest in us, or maybe connect us to the next partner that we might work with, or whatever. And there's nothing better than having the confidence of knowing what the heck people are talking about, right? And so you put yourself in a room of other business entrepreneurs. Maybe they went to business school, maybe they've been in business for 40 years or whatever, and they're throwing out these terms, and you're like, I don't know what they're talking about. At least you now have these tools to kind of educate yourself, so that when you are in other business environments, because people are going to assume that because once you say I'm a business owner, they're going to assume that certain things about business that you may actually not know, right? And so I'm a really big advocate of education and educating yourself, and also empowering yourself with the knowledge and tools to be able to do what you need to do in your business. I'm not saying that you have to do everything yourself. I do accounting, I do bookkeeping for people, I do financial coaching with people in their business. But also there needs to be a foundational level of understanding in your business. And if not, you can really find yourself in a very tricky situation, or even being able to be taken advantage of if you are not paying attention to your own business.
Yeah, it's same like with cake. You should understand, if you are not making by yourself, what your employees doing.
Yes.
Control them and check the quality and the processes, and the same with accounting and bookkeeping. But it's not about the cake. It's about money, your investments, and your future of your business, your bakery, and your future as well.
Yes, exactly. Yep. I think that, it just sometimes scares me. I know that there are so many people we would rather not deal, we all have a thing that we would rather not deal with, right? Like, I would just, I would rather not know how to do plumbing, right? Like, I'm going to hire somebody to do my plumbing for me, right? But there are things where we can be like, I would rather not know, but like, as adults, we need to know. Like, it's our responsibility to know, as it relates to certain debts that we have, as it relates to the government and owing the government money. In order to, there's certain things that, like, even though we probably cannot stand it, we wish somebody else would just do it for us. And sometimes we can hire other people to do it for us, but on a certain level, we are still even if we hired someone else to do it for us, we are still responsible for the results of that thing. So like back to an employee, if you have an employee that you have trained, but you're not really paying attention to them, or, you don't know if they're disgruntled or whatever, you don't know what quality that doesn't matter. You are still the one that is responsible. If something ever happens to a customer because of something that they did, you are still responsible for it. So in the same way, you can hire a tax professional, you can hire a lawyer who can work on your behalf, but you're still responsible because you are the business owner and your name is the one that's on the thing. So we have to dig deep sometimes and force ourselves to do the hard things. As my friend Chef Kim says, we got to force ourselves to kind of, educate ourselves. And then even though, yes, hire it out, let somebody else do it, but still, gain at least the top level knowledge of what it is so that we can, kind of stand with our head held high as an adult and as a responsible business owner.
It's, like the very, very famous quote, like nothing personal, just business.
Yes.
And for me, it's nothing more personal than business. So
Yes.
it is under my name, it's my reputation. So like my grandma, I want to know everything.
Yes.
So if you don't know everything in your business, so it's something wrong.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
So on the end of our conversation, I hope we will continue and you will provide more advice for our viewers.
Yes.
I would like to ask you, what is your plans for next year? Because New Year just month ahead.
Yes. Well, next year, I actually do plan on getting back out on social media. Like I said, I took like a 2-year hiatus for a little while, but I'm actually ready to get back. This was like a really good, thank you so much for inviting me on here, because it was kind of like a really good, like, entryway back, dipping my toe back into like live stream, which I used to live stream all the time on Periscope and Instagram. And so I'm really excited because we're actually going to be moving soon. So then I will have a cake studio again. Like right now I'm just in a corner, but I'm excited about like being able to take, more pictures and do more food photography, as well as, helping people with their businesses. Like as I'm expanding and opening up to new bookkeeping clients. And so if you know of any people who need help with their bookkeeping, I can actually help with that as well. But the thing that I like to provide with my bookkeeping is not just like, I could give you an income statement, no problem, but I really like to discuss strategy, right? Like, so after we've kind of filled out your income statement for each month, and I like to have the personal conversation of like, what's going on in the business? What are some ways that we can, grow your business? What are some marketing ideas? Are there markets available to you? What equipment are we looking at buying? Is there software that you could, so like having those discussions. So it's going beyond more than just like doing a bookkeeping service, but more of being like, a financial partner, a financial coach to kind of help people understand a little bit more about the numbers, that the story that is behind the numbers, and also how to use that to your advantage to make decisions to grow your business. And so I guess the moral of the story is, next year I'll be way more visible on social media and way more active, in email and all that stuff. And I'm really excited about kind of like getting back out there and offering, these services that I, have done, but also haven't been able to really fully do for a while. And I'm excited about it.
So people can reach you, ask your advice. You will provide consultation and check their statements. And on the end of the year, you can help with bookkeeping and other statements. Right?
Yes. So right now, the plan is to have kind of 3 different bookkeeping services. So there will be like a full bookkeeping service. It's like, you kind of hands off. We meet once a month. I'll tell you about what happened. We'll talk through strategy. That's kind of like the big guy. Then there's another service where I kind of train you on how to use it. And then every couple of months, I might come in and just kind of review to make sure that everything is going well, because at that point you would be, doing your own books on your own. But then there's also this course that I have out on my website that is just for anybody who wants to get started. Maybe they're not in a position to use the software or to use my services, but the training is there to show you how to use the spreadsheet, to explain kind of the details of, the key terms and stuff like that. And then you have the spreadsheet in order to do it on your own, and, also have access to me when you have questions and stuff like that. So those are the main things I feel like I'm doing next year. We'll see what else. I love going to conferences and events, and so hopefully I'll also be outside in that regard too. So hopefully I'll see you somewhere at something.
We want to know about everything. So before 2028 IBIE, I hope to see you again.
Yes.
And the person. So the happy holidays to everyone.
Yes.
Thank you so much, my darling. It was pleasure to see you, and we hope continue our education and accounting and everything. So I will add all information below of the video. Don't hesitate to ask Sid about business advice and accounting, because the season of not nice stuff just after holidays.
Yes.
So be prepared. Thank you so much to everyone. Happy holidays. I love you. See you soon.
Yes. Bye. Happy holidays.